The word hospitality probably brings up images of coffee and tea and snacks at a community gathering, or turn down service and room service and fresh sheets in a hotel. But what I want to get into this month is sacred hospitality for the love of strangers, or as in the Hindu tradition, making the guest God. That's our series this month. I'm Reverend Amani Malaika, and I'm really glad you're here. Hospitality, or as the Greeks say it, philoxenia, which actually translates as the love of strangers. So sacred hospitality, what I'm calling sacred hospitality, means this. It is more than charity. It is more than snacks and coffee or room service. It is a practice of loving the stranger, and as Bell Hooks so beautifully wrote about in All About Love, loving is a verb, right? It's an active way of caring for someone. And in this case, the stranger, the person who is maybe other to you. And when you and I make hospitality a practice, a spiritual practice as part of our spiritual lives, like spiritual living in the practice of hospitality and loving the stranger, you and I begin to practice tangibly and practically and measurably oneness. This spiritual truth that we are inherently connected, that we are all part of this one life, that we are all emanations of the Holy Blessed One. And so through the practice of hospitality, we make that real, right? When you and I love the stranger, we are engaging with the principle of oneness, right? We're taking this really big idea down from the clouds, off from the ethers, and bringing it home to our lived lives, right? This is spiritual living. And so this sacred hospitality is one of the ways we can engage with God. Or as we're talking about all month long, one of the ways we can collect evidence of the divine is by loving the stranger, by coming into contact with God itself through the other. And I can't think of a practice more important on the planet right now than this. We are seeing what happens when division and separation, right? I don't believe in sin in the traditional sense, right? It's actually translated to mean that we miss the mark, right? That's what the Aramaic translation of that word is. But if there is something that has gone terribly wrong with humanity, it is separation. Our concepts of separation from the divine, that there's some God in the sky, some outer external divine force that is only outside of us, that is orchestrating and punishing and favoring, that separation is one of the great travesties and ills of humanity. But taking that further into the out picturing, right, of the manifestation of this false idea is the separation between each other, the ways that we have divided and separated, which makes it possible to dehumanize, makes it possible to disappear people. This idea of separation and othering and differing makes it possible to participate in silence genocide. This, I believe, is the greatest ill of our time. So any practice that brings you and I into a tangible, felt experience of oneness, of inherent belonging with one another, is revolutionary right now in this world, and needed. And needed. So sacred hospitality is one of the ways we can make real this idea of oneness and belonging, right? That you and I are related, we are kin, as emanations of the Holy Blessed One, because you are, and I am, and they are. But we've got to practice it. It has to come out of conceptual and into a lived reality. And ways we can do this are many, 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 many. And I will invite you, if you haven't already signed up for our app, to do that, because I have given you multiple ways to practice sacred hospitality this month. You have to receive our newsletter to get the link to the app, but it's all right there for you to make it as easy as possible. Because I know for sure, that our spiritual lives are the answer to any ill we are facing. But our spiritual lives cannot come into practice without community, without practicing these principles together, on each other, with the stranger, with the guest as God. So my hope this month is that the stranger, the other, becomes a guest through your practice. And I want you to consider that not only does the world get better because you choose to practice sacred hospitality, because you choose to make the stranger a guest, you welcome in the connection that is inherent between you and anyone standing in front of you. Anyone standing in front of you gets welcomed in to a glorious, divine belonging as your kin, as your spiritual family, as the very face of God. So the world gets better because you and I do that. That is a revolution in and of itself. But here's the other piece, is you and I, as spiritual beings, are longing for an aliveness of spirit in our lived experience. We are longing to know God. We are longing to feel God and the divine and something greater, whatever you choose to call it. There's a reason we are in a spiritual life, because there is something in us that is always going to seek a connection to the greater, to the divine, to God, to Allah, to the spirit, whatever you want to call it. There is an inherent thing in us that seeks that longs for a reality, that longs for an experience, that can feel it, right? As a young spiritual seeker, I was tired of reading about the mystics and the prophets and their experiences of God. I wanted my own experience of God. That was one of the great motivations. I wanted to feel it and know it and touch it and taste it for myself. You have that same thing in you that longs for that experience, right? The embodiment of God as you, as your life, as the stranger that you can recognize. And so the sacred hospitality practice brings that into manifest reality. When you and I begin to collect evidence in our own lives, in our own experiences, through the exchanges of hospitality with one another, we get to have this great longing met. That is how it happens with each other, through the practice of seeing one another as God itself, through the practice of recognizing the face of God in every face you come in contact with. And when you do that, you get evidence of God itself right in front of you. When you do that, you grow your experiences of the divine. You expand what you understand about God, because you start to see God showing up in all of these new ways and all of these new people. You start to see what love does by simply gazing lovingly into the eyes of another and recognizing their divinity. Not a word has to be spoken to practice hospitality. Not a tangible gift needs to be given to practice hospitality. There has to be no snacks. But there's a recognition that you and I belong to one another, that we are both the lives of the Holy Blessed One showing up on this planet. It's the cashier at the grocery store. It's the person standing with a sign at the highway exit asking for your help. It is the trans woman who has been targeted and harassed all day, but meets a friendly face in you. This is hospitality. This is sacred hospitality. And it is the thing that might just save our lives. This is why you practice. And so I invite you to collect evidence of the divine, to deepen in your own relationship with this greater reality, to deepen in your own experience of this greater reality, to be the place where love shows up, not just for the stranger, but for yourself, for all of us in the collective healing and possibility that begins to come forward. We birth a new future because we practice this. We birth a lived expression of love because we practice sacred hospitality. So I invite you to practice this month. Go big if you can. Go small in every moment. Get on the app and get some ideas. There's one of the ways you can do it this month is practicing appreciation, appreciating something about someone and then sharing it with them. And what if you did that with the stranger? What if you appreciated their existence, their aliveness, and shared that with them as your spiritual practice this month? I appreciate you. I am so glad to be on this journey with you, to be in community with you, even if we've never met in person. I want you to know that you are in my heart. I see you. I am gazing lovingly at you right now. You, my friend, are the face of God, and it is good.